The origin of the Moabites and the Ammonites. After leaving Zoar, Lot settled in the hill country with his 2 daughters, for he dared not stay at Zoar. He made his home in a cave, himself and his 2 daughters. The elder said to the younger, "Our father is an old man, and there is not a man in the land to marry us, in the way they do the world over. Come, let us ply our father with wine and sleep with him. In this way we shall have children by our father." That night they made their father drunk, and the elder slept with her father, though he was unaware of her coming to bed or of her leaving. The next day the elder said to the younger, "Last night I slept with my father. Let us make him drunk again tonight, and you go and sleep with him. In this way we shall have children by our father." They made their father drunk that night too, and the younger went and slept with him, but he was unaware of her coming to bed or of her leaving. Both Lot's daughters thus became pregnant by their father. The elder gave birth to a son whom she named Moab, and he is the ancestor of the Moabites of our own times. The younger also gave birth to a son whom she named Ben-Ami, and he is the ancestor of the Bene-Ammon of our times. Abraham at Gerar. Abraham left there for the land of the Negeb and settled between Kadesh and Shur, staying for the time being at Gerar. Of his wife Sarah, Abraham said, "She is my sister." And Abimelech, the king of Gerar, had Sarah brought to him. But God visited Abimelech in a dream at night. "You are to die," he told him, "because of the woman you have taken, for she is a married woman." Abimelech, however, had not gone near her, so he said, "My lord, would you kill innocent people too? Did he not tell me himself, 'She is my sister'? And did not she herself say, 'He is my brother'? I did this with a clear conscience and clean hands." "Yes, I know," God replied in the dream, "that you did this with a clear conscience. And it was I who prevented you from sinning against me. That was why I did not let you touch her. Now send the woman back. Send the man's wife back, for he is a prophet and can intercede on your behalf for your life. But understand that if you do not send her back, you will most surely die, and all your people too." So Abimelech rose early next morning, and summoning all his servants, told them the whole story, at which the men were very much afraid. Then summoning Abraham, Abimelech said to him, "What have you done to us? What wrong have I done you that you bring so grave a sin on me and on my kingdom? You have treated me as you should not have done." And Abimelech asked Abraham, "What possessed you to do this?" "Because," Abraham replied, "I thought there would be no fear of God here, and the people would kill me because of my wife. Besides, she is indeed my sister, my father's daughter, though not my mother's, and she became my wife. So when God made me wander far from my father's home, I said to her, 'There is a kindness you can do me. Everywhere we go, say of me that I am your brother.'" Abimelech took sheep, cattle, men, and women slaves and presented them to Abraham and gave him back his wife Sarah. And Abimelech said, "See, my land lies before you. Settle wherever you please." To Sarah he said, "Look, I am giving 1,000 pieces of silver to your brother. For you, this will be compensation in the eyes of all those with you." At Abraham's prayer, God healed Abimelech his wife, and his slave girls, so that they could have children. For Yahweh had made all the women of Abimelech's household barren on account of Sarah, Abraham's wife. The birth of Isaac. Yahweh dealt kindly with Sarah as he had said, and did what he had promised her. So Sarah conceived and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the time God had promised. Abraham named the son born to him Isaac, the son to whom Sarah had given birth. Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Then Sarah said, God has given me cause to laugh. All those who hear of it will laugh with me. She added, who would have told Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne him a child in his old age. The dismissal of Hagar and Ishmael. The child grew and was weaned, and Abraham gave a great banquet on the day Isaac was weaned. Now Sarah watched the son that Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham, playing with her son Isaac. Drive away that slave girl and her son, she said to Abraham. This slave girl's son is not to share the inheritance with my son Isaac. This greatly distressed Abraham because of his son. But God said to him, do not distress yourself on account of the boy and your slave girl. Grant Sarah all she asks of you, for it is through Isaac that your name will be carried on. But the slave girl's son I will also make into a nation, for he is your child too. Rising early next morning, Abraham took some bread and a skin of water, and giving them to Hagar, he put the child on her shoulder and sent her away. She wandered off into the wilderness of Beersheba. When the skin of water was finished, she abandoned the child under a bush. Then she went and sat down at a distance, about a bow shot away, saying to herself, I cannot see the child die. So she sat at a distance, and the child wailed and wept. But God heard the boy wailing, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven. What is wrong, Hagar? He asked. Do not be afraid, for God has heard the boy's cry where he lies. Come, pick up the boy and hold him safe, for I will make him into a great nation. Then God opened Hagar's eyes, and she saw a well. So she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy. He grew up and made his home in the wilderness, and he became a bowman. He made his home in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother chose him a wife from the land of Egypt. Abraham and Abimelech at Beersheba. At that time Abimelech came with Philcol, the commander of his army, to speak to Abraham. God is with you in all you are doing. Swear by God to me here and now that you will not trick me, neither myself nor my descendants, nor any of mine, and that you will show the same kindness to me and the land of which you are a guest, as I have shown to you. Yes, Abraham said, I swear it. Abraham reproached Abimelech about a well that Abimelech's servants had seized. I do not know who has done this, Abimelech said. You yourself have never mentioned it to me, and for myself, I heard nothing of it till today. Then Abraham took sheep and cattle and presented them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. Abraham put 7 lambs of the flock on one side, "Why have you put these 7 lambs on one side?" Abimelech asked Abraham. He replied, "You must accept these 7 lambs from me as evidence that I have dug this well." This is why they called that place Beersheba, because there the 2 of them swore an oath. After they had made a covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech went off with Phicol, the commander of his army, and returned to the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted a tamarisk at Beersheba, and there he invoked Yahweh, the everlasting God. Abraham stayed for a long while in the land of the Philistines. The sacrifice of Isaac. It happened some time later that God put Abraham to the test. "Abraham, Abraham," he called. "Here I am," he replied. "Take your son," God said, "your only child Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. There you shall offer him as a burnt offering on a mountain I will point out to you." Rising early next morning, Abraham saddled his ass and took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. He chopped wood for the burnt offering and started on his journey to the place God had pointed out to him. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. Then Abraham said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go over there. We will worship and come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering, loaded it on Isaac, and carried in his own hands the fire and the knife. Then the 2 of them set out together. Isaac spoke to his father Abraham. "Father," he said. "Yes, my son," he replied. "Look," he said, "here are the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "My son, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering." Then the 2 of them went on together. When they arrived at the place God had pointed out to him, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood. Then he bound his son Isaac and put him on the altar on top of the wood. Abraham stretched out his hand and seized the knife to kill his son. But the angel of Yahweh called to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham," he said. "I am here," he replied. "Do not raise your hand against the boy," the angel said. "Do not harm him, for now I know you fear God. You have not refused me your son, your only son." Then looking up, Abraham saw a ram caught by its horns in a bush. Abraham took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering in place of his son. Abraham called this place Yahweh Provides, and hence the saying today, "On the mountain Yahweh provides." The angel of Yahweh called Abraham a second time from heaven. "I swear by my own self, it is Yahweh who speaks. Because you have done this, because you have not refused me your son, your only son, I will shower blessings on you. I will make your descendants as many as the stars of heaven and the grains of sand on the seashore. Your descendants shall gain possession of the gates of their enemies. All the nations of the earth shall bless themselves by your descendants as a reward for your obedience." Abraham went back to his servants, and together they set out for Beersheba, and he settled in Beersheba.